podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks, 200 stations all over the country, on Sunday, April 12th, 2020, Easter Sunday. This is episode 1686. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from Twit's Lastpass Studios. Stay in control when it comes to your company's access points and authentication. Lastpass makes enterprise-level security simple for your remote workforce. Check out lastpass.com/twit to learn more. The Tech Guy podcast is brought to you by FreshBooks. Are you struggling to choose the right accounting software for your business? Let FreshBooks help you. The #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. Try it free for 30 days at freshbooks.com/twit. Why, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Time to talk tech, computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches. Some portions of this program are pre-recorded. Well, one portion for Easter Sunday, I got to talk. I was so excited because I'm a Sopranos fan. To Drea De Matteo. She played Adriana on The Sopranos, and she's doing a new podcast. I thought, well, it'd be a good time to talk to her. So we'll talk a little later in the show. A conversation I had on Friday with Drea De Matteo, all about The Sopranos rewatch podcast, Made Women. Between now and then, your calls, we'll talk about anything with a chip in it, anything having to do with tech. That's a pretty wide area, whether we're talking about, getting your Zoom calls secure. By the way, just an update. I feel like Zoom's doing all the right things to make it useful and secure, and I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They actually hired as a consultant one of my favorite security guys, Alex Stamos. He used to be at Facebook. He was at Yahoo before that. And the guy had enough integrity. He left Yahoo when they didn't tell him, I guess, when he was at security there, that they'd had a breach of billions of Yahoo accounts. When he found out, he left. Then he was at Facebook for a while. When he found out about Cambridge Analytica, he left. So the guy's got integrity. And he's he said that the CEO of Zoom called him and said, help me. Help us make this secure. And they've now assigned all of their developers to no more new features. Just let's lock the features we've got down. There's been a lot of stories about Zoom, and there are a lot of people who won't use Zoom. Google won't use Zoom. Of course, they have their own thing, Hangouts. The New York City schools stopped using it. NASA, SpaceX, so it's not secure. We can't use it. But I feel like it was a business product. It wasn't designed to be secure. It was designed to be easy to use. In fact, that's one of the reasons it's so popular right now. Everybody can do it. Even on Saturday Night Live, apparently, last night. So that's fine. That's fine. If, they're locking it down. You have to, there's a certain burden on you as the host of the meeting to look in the settings and turn off things that can be problematic. You can lock it down too. And they're going to do more to make it better. And I think that's good. I feel like they're not malicious. They designed a product for a different market, and all of a sudden we're all using it. So just as an update, I think Zoom's cool, man. Cool to use. You know who else is cool as Apple and Google? So we're preparing for a day when we emerge from our little shelters here, our little cocoons, out into the world, blinky-eyed. Did anything happen while we were gone? But one hopes we'll get to emerge before there is a vaccine for the virus, or even herd immunity for the virus, like in the next few months. If you want to come out of the house in the next few months, then here's what we have to do next. We're going to, we're kind of dampening out the virus. It's going to slow down. There'll be fewer and fewer people who have it to spread it. And at that point, you want to be very careful because we're still vulnerable. We've been very good. We didn't get it, which means we could. So what you need to do, it becomes very important to track every infection, test, track, and then track everybody that person has met and put them all in quarantine so that the rest of us don't have to go back in quarantine. Does that make sense? You kind of, it's called containment, not quarantine, where you contain the virus and the people who might have it, put them in the 2-week quarantine. The rest of us can go about our business. In order to do that, we need some technology. And they've already, in China, they were using this software on the phone to track where you are, where you've been, and who you've seen, and then notify you if you've been exposed and say, go into quarantine. In China, they don't care about privacy so much, so they just made it happen. Here in the West, we care a little bit more. So Google and Apple have got together to create something interesting. A tracking app that protects your privacy. We'll see how this works. It's going to come out in the middle of next month, mid-May. It'll be an iOS app and it'll be an Android app. And health officials will be able to use this. And it'll be voluntary. That's important, right? Nobody will be forced to use it. Although, in China, it wasn't voluntary. And frankly, it would work better if it wasn't. But we're going to trust our fellow men and women and kids to report if they get sick and to participate. So let's assume that happens. You'll have a Bluetooth tracker on your phone. You already do, by the way, a Bluetooth LE tracker on your phone. It'll give you a unique identifier every single day, and it will track everybody else's unique identifier, because as the phones come within proximity of each other, within a few feet, they'll go, I see you. Give me your ID. The ID is not tied to a person. It's unique, but it is tied to the phone. If you get sick, you push a button in the app that says, yeah, I'm sick. I got COVID. If you get tested, I got it. Now the phone will tell you, and authorities, everybody you had contact with since you could have been infectious, for the last week, 10 days. And those people all get a notification. You've been in contact. Go quarantine. It does this all without revealing your personal information. Seems like a good idea, right? And I like it that Apple and Google are doing this, because Apple's got iOS, Google's got Android. And I trust both of them, but I'm sure most people think, well, Google maybe would like to. No, they're not going to collect any information. But even if you worried, at least Apple, Apple's not going to, right? This is good. This is good. Now, the problem is you're going to have to get people to download it. You're going to have to get them to use it. And most importantly, you're going to have to get them to obey. But I think this is good because it solves a kind of big problem, which is, what do we do? What's next? And I think it's interesting that tech companies have stepped up here. And because Apple's involved, and I think Google too, they're really working to say, we got to do this in a way that it's not invasive, that it's not ruining your privacy concerns are understood and responded to. What do you think? Would you cooperate? Would you use it? Would you, if you were told you got 2 weeks, get inside? That way we don't all have to keep doing this for another year, which to me seems like a definite social benefit. So we'll watch. We'll see what happens with that. But I think overall, I think that's a pretty good idea. I'm kind of glad they're doing it. Let's see. What else is in there's not a whole lot in the tech news because everybody's at home making soup, making sourdough bread, making masks. I got myself a sewing machine. I'm going to learn how to sew. I'm going to learn how to make masks because I want some nice, stylish masks. A nice thing Google did this week, just in time, is they made their online gaming service free. If you have a Gmail address, which is free, and most people do, you can sign up for Stadia, Stadia, stadia.google.com. You'll even get 2 months of Stadia Pro, which includes access to 9 games for free. So another way you can waste time while you're sheltering in place. Let's see, what else is going on? Not much else. We're waiting with bated breath. We know Apple has a new phone. Everybody seems to know everything about it. The iPhone SE, we believe it'll be called. Yes, you might say they already have an SE. That's true, but that was an old design. This is a newer design based on the iPhone 8, the smaller version of the iPhone 8, and with more modern chips so that you'll be able to use the latest operating system, run all the software. But it'll also be less expensive. I'm guessing, like the iPhone SE, about $400. And we're just waiting. They probably would have announced it before now, but, you know, things being as they are. We thought they would announce it last Tuesday. They didn't. Maybe watch Tuesday. You might watch. If you're in the market for a phone, you might watch this Tuesday. Maybe. A new iPhone. Well, that's not much. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number if you want to call and talk. Let's do it. 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Calling from outside those areas, I still love to hear from you. Just use Skype out. You can reach me easily. 8888 Ask Leo. We have a website. So if you hear something, that we're talking about and you want a link, it's all there. James is writing this down right now, putting it on techguylabs.com. That's free. There's no sign up. techguylabs.com. You can even get the audio and video from previous shows there. techguylabs.com. Our chat room, if you want to join in. And by the way, they're there 24/7. So if you get a little lonely, in this quarantine, if you're kind of missing contact, this is a good way to go in there and chat with them. irc.twit.tv. You can use your browser to go irc.twit.tv. Twit is my podcast network. irc.twit.tv. And join us. It's family friendly. Lots of nice people in there. It's busiest during the shows, but there's somebody there all the time. I know because I check in once in a while and I see, they're talking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. More of your calls coming up. Actually, right after this, your first calls. It's a miracle. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the unbreakable Kimmy Schaffer. You know what? Schaffer. Hello, Kim.
Hello.
Hello. Why do you say it like that?
I don't know. I'm just jamming
She's jamming to your
drum beat
theme
in the back.
You have a theme. That is good. Thank you to the unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt for lending us that theme. Did you see that her co-star on that, Titus Burgess, who's hysterical.
So funny.
Has a new show on the Quibi app.
I just heard about this week.
Yeah,
I don't even know what it is, but I heard about it.
Quibi was started by Jeffrey Katzenberg. They raised more than $1 billion to create short-form videos for phone only. In fact, you can't even play it anywhere else.
And a lot of celebrities are creating their own shows, I guess.
Big budget shows. They're all 7 minutes long. So Titus has a show. It's a reality show called Dishmantled. Get this. Get this. They take a dish and they blender it up and they put it in cannon. Then they dress up two chefs in protective gear and fire the cannon at them. And then the chefs taste the food that is sprayed all over them and have to make have to make the dish. They have to guess what the dish is and make it.
Oh, that's so stupid.
And then they have celebrity judges for no apparent reason because they don't do anything, but they just taste the dish and go, And then Titus reveals how many of the ingredients they got right, and somebody wins $5,000.
I'd watch it.
7 minutes. Download Quibi. You can get it for free right now for 3 months.
Oh, nice.
It's very hot. It's very Hollywood. It's very high production values. I think what happened, Hollywood said, well, you see all these kids making all this money on the YouTube.
Yeah.
We should be able to do that. We're the content capital of the world. So they created this thing. But my problem is the reason YouTube succeeds is because it's grassroots. They just threw 1 million shows up and people discovered the ones they really liked. And they're not anything like TV. They're not anything like Hollywood would make. They're completely unique. And so you can't just come along as Hollywood and say, well, all we do is we take, CSI Las Vegas and chop it into 7-minute segments. It'll be a hit. And they don't let you watch it on the big screen or anything. You have to watch it on your phone.
You have to watch it on your phone. Oh, so it's only a mobile app.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then they have the big thing is you can watch it sideways or vertically. Ooh.
Wow.
Or even go back and forth. Ooh. Wow. I don't know why I mentioned this. Anyway, that's Titus is on that. So I'll give him a little plug because we're stealing their theme. No, we're not. We pay them. We give them royalties or something, I'm sure.
BMI, ASCAP.
Fees. We pay the fees.
Well, happy Easter.
A year
ago, we were in Kauai and Big Sur.
Oh, my God. gosh.
And today we're stuck
Today we're
in
here.
our homes.
But you do look like an Easter egg.
I look like an Easter
You're
egg
decorated.
on acid. I thought, what better to dress like a freaking egg?
Paisley Easter egg. Aren't you sweet? Thank you for celebrating this holiday.
I'm trying. If I could get in your office, I'd steal those ears that used to be in there. But
I'll bring them. I'll bring them to you.
hermetically
Sanitize them. Yeah, no, I keep my office off limits, so I don't
Actually,
have to
I
worry.
may have already stolen those ears a few years ago.
I will send them out in a special package,
All right.
sealed for your protection. Who should I talk to?
How about Joe in Miami?
How about it? Thank you, Kimmy. Hello, Joe. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. I'm calling you from a Western Electric rotary on a POTS line.
Oh, my God. And you know what? You sound so 50s.
Thank you.
No, that's amazing. Those are the phones you had to rent. You couldn't buy them.
Well, this was purchased when the Ma Bell
After the breakup.
broke up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I have a question regarding backing up old emails it's on a 2009 iMac.
Okay.
Some of the emails go back to 2003.
Wow.
I have, let's say, 3 important email addresses. The email was downloaded to the computer itself using a POP3 POP server.
Then it's on the computer. That's the good news.
Right. And I've left it. Also, I tried to leave it on the internet provider site itself.
Well, now, if you're using POP, one of the reasons that internet service providers used to like to use POP is because it made you delete it as you downloaded it. So unless you explicitly said, don't delete it. Oh, you found the check mark. Okay.
Yeah, I definitely did that.
Okay.
The email because of the old phone, the email is Bell South, which is a very old email company.
Yeah.
And
they got absorbed.
Right. Verizon, Yahoo.
Yeah. It all became absorbed. In fact, did they move you at some point to Yahoo Mail or AOL Mail?
I never.
You don't open that account.
No, I just use it directly on the Mac or a Windows computer.
This is a cool thing about email. It becomes a database of your life. It's a history.
Yes. So I don't want to lose it.
No.
So right now, my computer is the 2009 iMac.
What did you do? What program did you use?
Well, that's one of the reasons I'm calling you. I'm actually just using the mail version 9.3 on
You're using Apple Mail.
Apple Mail.
So that's the reason that's relevant is because remember, and I'll explain for others who don't remember, with Pop Mail, you download the email to your machine, but the format it's stored in is dependent on the program you use. So it's there. In fact, you probably you know it's there because you can open it, right? And you can see it.
Right. So what I've been doing is I've been trying. I went somewhere under mail and then say export mail.
There you go.
Right. I did that, and I put a thumb drive in.
There you go.
And I moved it there. But now I'm looking at about 10.
Yeah, they're .mbox files. Here's the good news. You can open those with almost any good email program, Thunderbird included. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Oh.
So that's the key. Mbox is a generic format for email that almost every program will understand. If you're an email program, it's kind of, table stakes. You got to understand Mbox. Doesn't mean they use it. For instance, Apple Mail doesn't use it, but it can export to it. Most email programs could probably import. Do you want to open it in something besides an email program?
The idea maybe if I would like to move it to another Mac computer that I have, but right now there's no description. It says inbox 2, inbox 5.
Yeah.
I have no idea which emails in which inbox, and I don't know if it's actually transferring properly because it's over a decade of emails.
Yeah. Well, you can open them. They're text files. I would guess, I don't know what Apple's doing, but I would guess Apple puts the information about it's by folder, and I would guess that the very first line in the Mbox file would be the folder name. So you could just open them in a text editor and look at them. They'll be, it'll be hard to read them, but they're there. They're text. Mbox is a text file format. So you can see what's in it if you want. It's not the ideal way to do it.
Right. What I'd like to do is, when I put on the thumb drive, can I take that thumb drive, put it on another computer, and import it in, and the computer will know how it's working?
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And if Mail imports Mbox files, it exports them and imports them. So you could just do it with Apple Mail. But that's the native file format for Thunderbird. That's why I mentioned that. That's how Thunderbird stores its mail. It's one of the reasons I like Thunderbird, because it's not obscure. But yeah, as I remember, it just uses numbers too. It doesn't do folder names. There must be a provision for putting that in the file. I would guess the first line. I haven't looked at an Mbox file in a while.
I have Thunderbird on another computer.
It should you could put it in the folder, and it would just see it.
Okay, all right, that's encouraging.
You wouldn't even have to import it in Thunderbird. Mail, you just import it, and it would. I think Mail would probably import it just better because it knows it's coming from Mail.
Right, that's what I'm thinking. All right, so I'm going to try that. I have, related to this, I have a external hard drive. I'm using, you recommended Super Duper, so I have all that. Good. Will that allow me, if this thumbnail doesn't work too well, thumb drive, Super Duper, I don't know how do you download it to another computer? Do I have to put the serial number on?
Yeah. There's a free tier of Super Duper that'll work without a serial number. You just download Super Duper again. If you have a serial number that you've stored, yeah, of course you do. You have all your email from the last 50 years, so you've got that. So you enter it in and it'll register, and then you'll have the full capability of it. Yeah, I reinstall Super Duper every Mac. I feel bad. I feel like I should pay this guy again. I paid once 10 years ago. But it's such a great program, and it's a must-have if you're a Macintosh user.
All right, great. May I ask you one other question?
Sure.
All right, it's not. You've answered this. People have asked about this a lot, but I've never figured out how to just do it easily. On one from AT&T, it's the combo router and modem.
Yeah.
And how you separate the IoT from.
Yeah.
Right. Is that something that's. Can I just get a separate Netgear, let's say Fire?
No, you need 3 routers to do this, and it's not worth it.
Not worth it.
It's not worth it, because what'll happen is you'll isolate your IoT devices. Sure, great for security, but now you can't control them anymore because you're not on their network. And the minute you're on their network, then you've eliminated all the security because you're on the same network. So it's not worth it. And here's the real advice. Get an IoT device only from reputable companies that stand by their products and continue to update the firmware with security patches. Don't buy no-name devices, Chinese cameras.
What I bought wasn't no-name when I bought it. I mean, it's still not no-name, but they're not supporting something.
If they're not updating it, that's risky, because that means that if somebody finds a flaw, it will not be fixed. So that's time to retire.
Uh-oh. Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Joe. Have a good one. Stay safe. Bye-bye. Happy Easter. Sam Abuelsamid. He is principal researcher at Navigant Research. He's worked for 2 of the big 3 automakers. He is a podcaster at Wheel Bearings Media. He's our car guy. Hi, Sam.
Hey, Leo. How are you this week?
I'm great. I see you have something hanging in your windshield. Before you get to that, I just want to mention I was cleaning my office, which happens about once every 20 years, and I found my old Owl Cam, which is a great dashboard dashboard cam that shoots forwards and shoots the cabin. It records if there's a crash or a break-in. And I started to set it up, and then I realized the company seems to have gone out of business. And this is an example of the risk of these devices. It's so tied to the servers run by the Owl Corporation that it is essentially useless if the company is no longer
I have
around.
one sitting here about 18 inches away from me, just behind my monitor, that they sent me to evaluate, and I just haven't gotten around to it.
Yeah, too late now. You can take that one off your to-do list. Yeah, I mean, maybe they'll come back, but I was reading.
They may just be on hiatus right now.
No, this happened before COVID. They were struggling a little bit, and I think they just ran out of money, which happens sometimes.
That happens a lot in Silicon Valley.
And I loved it. Owlcam.com. They were even still selling them until recently.
Their
Best
website's
Buy.
still up.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay.
Unless I'm wrong, and if you work for Owl, you are still around, you call me. But I can't remember where I read it. I think it was Fast Company.
I'll have to reach out to them this week because I visited them last fall.
Yeah, no, you call their office.
Okay.
I think they kind of checked out.
Oh, that's a bummer.
Yeah, because I loved it. It was my favorite. It was a little expensive, and I think that's maybe why they struggled.
Yeah,
it's 300 some bucks, but I loved it. Owl, wait a minute. Here is from the web, from the internet chat. Owlcam's assets were recently acquired by Zergo Technologies, a leading provider of industrial IoT technologies to fleet and enterprise partners. Oh. I don't know.
Okay.
Support for consumer Owlcam subscribers and new Owlcam purchases is temporarily suspended while the next steps are being determined. So, yikes.
Oh, well. Anyway, a device that is still available.
Yes.
and that does still work is called the Car and Driver Copilot. We actually talked about this, I think, about 2 months ago. And what it is, it's made by a company called the Fesco Group. And, they sell a bunch of products under a variety of different brands, including various automotive-related products under the Car and Driver brand. In fact, they sell a bunch of different dash cams, Car and Driver branded dash cams. And their latest device is the Copilot, which I actually have right here.
Now, that implies the name Copilot, maybe it does some driving for you.
No, it does not do driving for you. But what it does is it's kind of like having a backseat driver that says, keep your eye on the road.
I got one of those.
Yeah. So,
oh, that's cool. So it's watching you, and if you're not paying attention, it wakes you up?
Yeah, so this little device has a GPS receiver in it, and also an infrared camera and infrared emitters. So the camera functions very much like the one in the GM Super Cruise system. Same basic concept, and also actually very similar to what Face ID does on iPhones. So it illuminates your face with infrared, and there's an infrared camera, and it watches where you're looking. And so it's not connected to anything outside except for just picking up the GPS signal, which it uses to determine if you're moving. And so when the car's in motion, it's looking at you if you're distracted, if you're looking off to one side or looking down at your phone or anything like that. It will give you an alert. Or
how does it alert you? Does it buzz you? Does it electrocute you? Does it?
No. It just gives a fairly loud, audible warning.
That's
saying,
good.
Please pay attention to the road.
I was always afraid when I used to commute, especially at the end of the day, and I was sleepy, of falling asleep at the wheel. And I think I would love something like this that would say, "Wake up, Leo."
I think for somebody that does a lot of driving, it's probably not a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I got it a couple of weeks ago, and I finally went and I put it in the car today and went around and drove around and actually filmed some video with it, which I'm going to send over to Anthony if you want to do a hands-on tech segment with it. Good. But it's very easy to install. Just slap it on the windshield, but it has to go, right in front of you. You put, midway, directly in front of where you're sitting so that the camera can see your face and see your eyes. And then you just plug it into a USB port for power. And it uses the GPS just to determine, if you're moving, so that, once you come to a stop, if you're, sitting and the car's not moving, and then you look at your phone, then it's not going to give you alerts for that. Or if you're looking down or looking over at somebody, no big deal. But when you're moving, it actually works really well. For example, if your eyes close, if you're drowsy and you're falling asleep, it actually, the time before it gives you an alert actually varies. So, if your eyes close, it's like 1 second, second and a half, and it'll give you an alert. If you're looking over to the side, glancing over at something, then, it's maybe somewhere 3, 4, 5 seconds before it'll give you an alert. So it's not quite so, naggy in that case, because, it assumes that, if it can see if your eyes are open, and you still got some peripheral vision. So it's not going to be quite as fast to jump in there. And it works really well. The problem is because you have to mount it on the windshield, it's kind of right in your line of sight, right in front of you all the time. And, if you're a professional driver, if you're driving a van, if you're doing deliveries, things like that, it would actually make a lot more sense, if you can mount it just a little bit higher. So it's not quite in your line of vision the way it was in the car, the Genesis G70 that I was driving. And it's also kind of expensive. It's about $300. and what we're going to start seeing in the next couple of years, is seeing these integrated into cars. Because it's an aftermarket thing, there's only so much integration you can do. But it does work. It works really well. And if you think that this is something that you think could be useful to you, if you do a lot of driving, then it can be a real safety thing. And
I want to put it in my daughter's car so she doesn't text while she's driving.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're looking down at your phone, I mean, it'll catch that, within a second and a half, so it's pretty quick awesome to alert.
Now, the way I see it behind you, it's mounted to the windshield. That's not legal in some states, I think. Where do you have to mount it?
It has to be mounted on the windshield.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically it has to be in front of you so that the camera can see your face.
Yeah. So that you should check your local rules, because in some states you're not allowed to do that because they don't want you to block your view of the street. How much is it?
$300.
That's not bad. It's less than the owl cam.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's not cheap, but it's not.
It doesn't shoot any video or anything. It's just doing that.
No. There's no video at all. It's just the IR camera. So it's just watching your face and using some AI, to detect where you're looking.
Somebody in the chat room,
as long as you're looking down the road.
Mike in the chat room says this should be integrated into rear view mirrors into future cars. I think I agree with you, Mikey. That's a great idea.
Well, where you're going to see it integrated is like into the instrument cluster.
Yeah.
That's what BMW is doing, or right on top of the steering column. That's what GM's doing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Sam Abuelsamid, Navigant researcher. Listen to his great podcast, Wheel Bearings. It's at wheelbearings.media, and he joins us every week. Thanks, Sam.
You're welcome, Leo.
Nice. I think that's a brilliant idea. So they've licensed it to GM and others.
No. They're doing their own. GM buys theirs from an Australian company called Seeing Machines. BMW is also using Seeing Machines.
Is that what the Cadillac that I drove, the CT5 had that? That really worked. Yep. Wow.
Yeah, no, it did. Yeah.
In fact, I didn't want to not look at the road because I was going 60 miles an hour. I was scared. So I covered my eyes and peeked through the fingers, and it vibrates the seat. It goes.
Yeah, so this, because it's not connected to anything in the vehicle, it obviously can't do that.
Yeah.
So it just gives you a really loud alert, and you can adjust the volume. But it does work. It works really well. Idea.
Better though to integrate it into the instrument cluster.
Yeah, but I mean, if you have an existing car, if you can't afford a new car, then this is a solution that's available.
Right. Brilliant. How's things in the Motor City, in Ypsilanti?
They're okay. I think we're currently fourth in the country in terms of COVID.
Well, I know
cases.
Detroit is. You're close enough to have that problem too.
Well, Detroit and the surrounding, like Wayne County, Macomb, and Oakland County, the northern suburbs. Where I am in Washtenaw, we're just to the west of Detroit.
Right.
We have a lot fewer cases.
Yeah, we're down to 83 cases. There have been 2 deaths in Sonoma County, but we flattened the curve pretty well because we started sheltering in place almost 3 weeks ago. It'll be 3 weeks.
Yeah, earlier this week, the governor announced an extension of the shelter in place through the end of April.
Yeah.
So it's
going to be a while.
We're getting by though.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Yeah, the Owl Cam story is kind of sad story. It was a really great dash cam that I used and recommended, I'm sure, many times, and I apologize if you bought it. $350, it was expensive. And I think from now on, I'm really going to have to note when a company relies on its cloud service. There were good reasons why the Owl Cam had to have a cloud service. For instance, if you got in a wreck and the camera got damaged, it was uploading right up to the point where it got damaged. So you would always have that data, even if the camera got damaged itself, or if somebody broke in and stole the camera, because the camera is uploading the minute the break-in happens to the cloud, and it came with LTE service as part of the price. So that's fair. You'd have the images of the wreck or the theft, even if the camera itself was destroyed, right up to that point. So a cloud service was kind of vital to this. Local recording certainly would have been nice. At least you'd still be able to use it for that. But it didn't do it. It uploaded to the Owlcam cloud, and that cloud is gone. So I guess from now on, when I look at these devices, I can't be quite so complacent and say, oh, this is great, it does everything. I have to think about what happens to this device if the company goes out of business. It's not the first time this has happened. Look at Sonos. They didn't go out of business. They just said, well, the old stuff's not going to work anymore. An internet-connected device, something to be aware of if it's relying on a cloud service. And the other thing, and I don't even want to say this, but we're going to go through a tough time over the next 6 months to a year or two. The economy is going to struggle, and that means a lot of these startups are not going to get funding. They're not going to be able to continue to operate. I don't think there's a big brisk market in dash cams right now. People are not spending money on stuff like that, right? So, if these companies can hang on until the economy turns around, however long that is, they'll survive. But a lot of them don't have that much, we call it runway, that much money to continue to operate absent business. So I think this is something even more important these days, something to really pay attention to. And I promise I'll keep an eye on that from now on when I recommend stuff. And again, an apology, a sincere apology to anybody who bought it because of me. If it's any consolation, I have one that doesn't do anything as well. And I bought it and didn't get it for free. Kenny in Springfield. Is it Michigan? Hi, Kenny.
Missouri. Hello.
Hello. Welcome.
I had a question about the iTunes store. I buy movies and television shows, and I'll buy them, and I notice, a few weeks later, a month later, whatever I bought went on sale.
Oh, isn't that awful?
Yep.
But that's life, isn't it? I mean, everything. That happens with everything. It's not just those movies. Everything goes on sale. Eventually, you buy a car, and 5 minutes later, they cut the price. You buy a computer, and a month later, you could see, I just bought a Dell 13-inch XPS 13, and it's $200 less than when I bought it. So it isn't unusual.
Well, I'd like to know if there was an app or something that will let me know that the content is going on sale or what have you.
Well, that's a good question. So you could just wait. I've seen websites and apps like that where it says it's the lowest price it's been in 6 months or like that. I don't, off the top of my head, know. Maybe the chat room does. Is there a deal site that keeps an eye? I'm sure it does more than just iTunes, but keeps an eye on the prices and notices when there's a price drop. There's a program for Amazon that does that. Camel. That's very useful. Lets you know when there's a deal available on something. Of course, once you bought it, it's very unlikely you get a refund from Apple. It's worth a call and say, "Hey, I just bought this. Can I get my $1.50 back?" Slick deals, but I don't know if they do iTunes. Camel for Amazon is pretty cool. Herd Wikibuy. And then the other thing that you might do, Dr. Mom's saying, if you bought it via a credit card, some credit card perks say, and I've seen this, if a lower price happens within 90 days, we'll give you a refund. So Honey is one. That's the one I think eBay just bought for billions of dollars, right? Wikibuy, Wikibuy, and Ernie, EARNY. And of course, if you use Amazon, Camel. Ernie is EARNY.co. I should point out all of these companies make their money. They don't charge you in most cases. Then they don't get an affiliate fee in most cases. They make their money selling your personal information. So in many cases, Honey is a perfect example. It's a browser plugin that watches everywhere you go, like any browser plugin can. And they're fairly upfront about this. They watch everything you do, and then they sell it to advertisers. And if you want to know how much that's worth, just see how much Honey sold for. Because it was more than $1 billion for a company that doesn't actually charge for its technology. It's that useful. I mean, my wife thinks I'm nuts because I don't use those. She uses every one of them. Rakuten, Ebates, all of that stuff. And, she'll tell me at the end of every month, look how much money I saved. I just don't do that kind of stuff. PayPal, which used to own eBay, PayPal bought it for, ready for this? $4 billion. $4 billion with a B. That's basically just, if you need any evidence that your personal info is worth anything, that is the evidence. $4 billion. Jay in Manassas Park, Virginia. Hey, Jay.
Yes, Leo. Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
I had a question. I think it's a pretty simple one, really. It's about budgeting programs. And to give you a little background, for years I used Quicken and put all of my transactions, one at a time in.
Me too. That's the main thing people got personal computers for back in the day.
Yeah, and finally I got tired of that, and I quit even having a budget for a few years, and then decided, well, I better keep track of my money and my personal budget. And so I use Mint, but there's some things I was unhappy with Mint. And right now I use a program called You Need a Budget, which is
I like
good.
it. I like it.
But it's got, the main thing about it, it doesn't have much in the way of reports. It only has a couple of reports you can create, and they don't really get what I want.
Yeah.
So anyway, I heard recently that Excel, Microsoft Excel, in the near future here, that you can hook it up to your bank or your...
they just added that feature. Yeah.
I thought, gee, if I could do that and download transactions as easy as these others do, then I could create my own report. So I was wondering, do you know much about that? What it's going to be and what it's...
I don't. They just announced that like a week ago as a new feature. Import bank information. But... I agree with you. If you're smart, if you're willing and smart enough to make Excel spreadsheets and macros and create it, you could have anything you want. It could be easily as good as YNAB, but it's going to take some work on your part. I'm going to refer you.
I can get some help. I've got some kids that are pretty smart.
They're good at Excel.
Yeah,
I go to the personal on Reddit. I don't know if you know Reddit, reddit.com.
Okay.
/r/personal finance. There's a really good personal finance subreddit. Lots of good content. They're talking about this, and they talk about ways to do it. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about it because they just announced it, so I haven't had a chance to try it.
Okay.
But I think this is interesting.
No, I think in the past you could actually download...
You could get a CSV and do it in the past, yeah.
Yeah, but that's awkward. I want one that just kind of pops up your transaction.
It should do it like Mint did it. I mean, that's the beauty of Mint. Yeah. There are other programs like Mint. There's lots of them. There's a company called Personal Capital that has a very similar program to Mint, but it's focused more on investments. And the reason is they are also a broker, so they use this as a way to entice you. But I think the Personal Capital interface and information is easily as good as Mint, and it might have more reports of the kind you're looking for.
Yeah, now Mint, I was unhappy with it because you couldn't work out your various categories. They locked you in. You had to pick the categories they created, and I never got real comfortable with that.
Right. Yeah, the whole idea of Mint, which was originally from the same people who did Quicken, the whole idea, it's now Intuit sold Quicken. The whole idea was, the problem with Quicken is, and I remember this, you got to enter all this data. And so what we want to do is make something that you don't have to think about. You just turn it on, hook up your accounts, and then it's completely passive. And so that's why they do their own categories and all that stuff. You want something that's a little more active.
Yeah, that I could be more, that I could develop it the way I want. Now, you need the UNAB that I was using, you could make your categories exactly the way you want.
That's why people like YNAB. Yeah.
Any reports. I wasn't happy with.
Isn't that so crazy? Isn't that crazy?
I'm hard to get along with in that I want it my way, you know.
Well, and if you're motivated to do it in Excel, it could be exactly the way you want it. I mean, that's why businesses use Excel. And it's not I mean, honestly, I think it'd be a fun little, if you've got a little time, and I imagine we all have a little more time now than we did before, that would be a fun project. And boy, you'd sure learn a lot about Excel. I think it's completely powerful. I don't know. One of the things you'd want is that once you set up the connector, it would do it like Mint did or even Quicken did. It would do it automatically, so you wouldn't have to look at it. And I gather that was at least my interpretation of what Microsoft announced this week.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wondering, if it would really be like.
I don't know. I haven't played with it, and I don't even know if I don't think it's available yet. I think they just announced it.
Yeah, it's the future.
Yeah, this was part of their Microsoft 365 announcement. And, it's in there. What they're trying to do is get more home users to use this.
Yes, and I think it would be great. And even, in Excel, you can get a lot. Even now, you can get a lot of different templates.
Oh, yes.
I'm wondering if that feature comes and works like I'm hoping, who knows? Maybe other people will make templates.
I'll keep an eye on it. We'll talk about it when it comes out, because I agree with you. And then you're absolutely right. You wouldn't have to do much coding, because somebody would say, "Oh, here's a personal finance manager," based on that, and then you could download that as a template and modify it to your heart's content.
Right. Yep. Okay. Well, I listen to both your shows.
Thank you.
I do the podcast and have done it for years, so I'll be listening when you have some more info on it.
Appreciate it, Jay. I will talk about it.
Okay.
Take care.
You.
Bye-bye. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada, outside that area. Well, still call me. Just use Skype out or something. It'll be free. 8888 Ask Leo. Website, techguylabs.com. I mentioned that because, there's a lot of stuff we talk about, links and so forth, and you can find all that information there at the website. It's free. James Deruvo's writing it all down. Just go to techguylabs.com and look for this particular episode of the show, and you'll find everything you need. What is this? This is episode 1686. 1686. Wow. Back to the phones we go. Line 4, Gary, Buffalo, New York. Hello, Gary.
Hey, Leo. How you doing?
Well, how are you?
Good. Surviving.
Yep.
Oh, by the way, my owl cam, I just went out and shook my car, and it's still working on Wi-Fi, apparently.
It'll work, but it won't record anything.
Well, it recorded the instance that I shook the car on, but it's not recording any driving. So if it's connected to your Wi-Fi, I guess it's still...
Yeah. Does it have local? I guess it has some local recording.
Yeah, it has local recording.
Okay, so I guess that would still work. The problem is, how do you look at those clips? Because the way I would look at them is I'd use the app, which goes to their website.
Well, you can use the app when you're connected to your Wi-Fi. I don't know if you remember that, but you could download...
So you could get it directly via Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but you're only going to get it... The only thing it's recording is when it's connected to the Wi-Fi.
Oh. In other words, not while you're driving. Yeah, that's kind of a limited value.
So if somebody breaks into your car in your driveway, I guess.
Yeah, you're set. Yeah, I was really sad because I loved this thing. I mean, it's the best camera I've ever had. Maybe the new company will keep it alive. Let's hope.
What's your next best recommendation? Now that we got to replace it?
I don't know. We're going to have to let Sam recommend it because I haven't bought another one. I'm now out in the market to look. I will recommend the Wirecutter because they did recommend the Owl Cam. And they, in their most recent posting, said, yeah, we don't recommend that anymore.
Yeah.
And so what I like about the Wirecutter is they really do look at everything. They try to, look at the entire field, and nobody does that anymore. Remember, you used to cover PC Magazine, 800 printers rated. But those days are gone. I think the one they like now is called the Next Base. I've never even heard of this. Next Base 522 GW dash cam. Looks, it's $100 less than the Owl Cam, so that's nice. They said they tested, look at this, they tested 250, they researched 250 miles, tested 40, and that's their new pick to replace the Owl Cam. Next Base.
Yeah, the thing I like about the Owl Cam was that if someone broke into your car, you'd get a...
Right. Well, that's the first thing you say is, look, I'm putting this expensive $350 device visible in my window. What happens if they steal it? And they said, A, we'll replace it for free, and B, you'll have video of it being stolen, so you can catch the guy.
But, well, what I called you for is that I've been seeing my grandkids on Skype and...
Nice. Isn't that great? Thank goodness we have that.
Great.
Yeah.
But today I wanted to, and I couldn't figure it out. I wanted to use I have a green screen I could use behind me. I wanted to have the Easter Bunny behind me.
Oh, well, how cute.
I couldn't figure out how to get either Face or Skype or Zoom to allow me to green screen, It just takes my video. It doesn't, there's no way to intercept it.
So I know on Zoom there's actually a button that says I have a green screen, and Zoom does backgrounds. So that's in the settings for Zoom. Skype, to do a green, and Skype will support this too, do a green screen, but you're going to have to use an intermediary program. So Skype's looking at the camera. What you do is you have a program like, say, OBS that will intercept that and become the camera. And then OBS will allow you to use a green screen. So there are a number of other programs that will do this. It's the idea is the program becomes the webcam. So you know how in Skype you'll go and you'll do the video settings and you can choose which webcam you're using. Once you install OBS, which is free, by the way, and it's kind of what every YouTube and Twitch streamer uses. You use OBS, and then you can say that's the camera. And then OBS will have the green screen. And part of the reason it's a good idea to use a third-party program, Zoom doesn't do, I don't know if you've seen it, but does not do a great job of, it's called keying, okay? And keying, and every weatherman and woman in the world uses this. It takes the picture in front, and then if you have a uniform color behind you, it doesn't have to be green. Green turns out to be a good color. It used to be blue, but people with blue eyes, stuff would show up in their eyes. So they started to use green because there's no human with green features pretty much, and the color green, and you got to be careful of your clothing. In fact, Queen Elizabeth, I don't know if when she did her address last week, wore a green dress, and of course that means the wags on the internet immediately started putting stuff in the green dress.
Yeah, I saw that.
Green is easy to key out, in other words. So you tell the software, okay, wherever you see this color, you can replace it. It does a much better job than Zoom without a green screen. With a green screen, it'll be much better. There's a lot of tricks to it. You got to light the green screen evenly, and there's there's a lot of issues with that. So I will put up a link from a website called rightpoint.com that talks about using OBS. It talks about other programs you can use as well, Cam Twist, to do it. You have a green screen? How come you have a green screen?
Well, I just have it's just almost a piece of material that I was playing around.
Yeah, you could use a green sheet. Actually, you could use any color as long as it's solid. And you want it tight because you don't want any wrinkles because they'll be lit weirdly, right? And so it'll look strange. Yeah. But if you can get a tight, ideally you'd have a solid color background, and then the software would be able to see it and say, "Oh, I'm going to put something into it." We have that capability here.
Yeah, I was able to make some videos with it, but I wanted to do it on a broadcast. It's the OBS thing, but it looks like I have to do two. I have to do the OBS, do the green screen, and then the OBS virtual cam to. That's what tricks. Send it.
Yeah, that's what tricks Skype. And then so it's a plug-in for OBS that will do the green screen. But you need to
I'd be happy to pay for a program that has it all in one. If anybody in the chat room or listeners have any suggestions.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather pay for something and just have it plug and play than have to.
Are you on a Mac or Windows?
Windows.
Okay.
Windows.
Because there are programs on the Mac like Ecamm, which I really like, that'll do this, and will look like Ecamm will do it, and will look like a green screen. So it's a much simpler solution. I'm not sure on Windows. The chat room will tell me what programs to use for this. Is it PureCam? Is that one? They're talking about something called PureCam. What you need is something, it's software that will look like a webcam to Skype, but will allow you to do this keying. No, that's a car system. Never mind, forget that. Elgato is another one. Vmix. They're coming up with names now. So
okay, good. I'll take a look.
Take a look at, and we'll put what we do is we capture the ideas from the chat room. We put those also in the show notes. Yeah, Vmix looks interesting. It's a software-based video mixer for Windows. This would easily do what you want it to do. You just need something that shows up in that drop-down where it says, use your Logitech camera or your laptop camera, or, oh, look, you have Vmix. Use that as the camera. And if you can do that, then you can put green in it. And it'll do a better job, I think, of keying than anything else. Yeah, looks like Vmix does it. Thank you. Have fun. What a great idea. Is it going to be a hopping Easter bunny?
Well, no. I downloaded a video of a dancing Easter bunny.
Perfect.
Dancing.
Perfect. The kids would be thrilled. What a good idea. I love that.
All right.
Have fun. All right. Take care. That's it. That's perfect. That's one of the things that's happened as a result of all this, right? Is we've become kind of experts on, weird little things like that. I'm learning how to sew masks. I'm learning how to sew, period, so I can make masks. A lot of people getting very good at video production for their teleconferences. I guess I got to get out the sewing machine and make me a green screen. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo the phone number. You could do it with a sheet. Anything that's solid color will work. Green's just the least likely to cause problems with people's features and things. For years it was blue. I don't know when we all switched to green. Cody in Duluth, Minnesota. Hello, Cody. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Cody, are you there? Unmute yourself. Are you muted? Hello. I'll put him on hold. And hang on, Cody. If you figure out what's wrong, we'll put you back on. Jim in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Hello, Jim.
Hello, Leo. A couple of years ago, a person showed me how to, on a website called Spyglass, and it came up on Artificial Horizon. And I can't get it.
It was an artificial horizon. What were you using that for?
They're used as an instrument in airplanes for keeping your wings level.
Right. And you wanted one.
And Spyglass is supposed to have one, but Are you
a pilot?
I am a little bit, and my brother is. We just fly VFR. He has a Super Cub.
Yeah. How fun. Yeah. And it doesn't have that instrument, huh?
No.
It doesn't have an artificial horizon.
No.
Yeah.
We just fly VFR.
Yeah, because you don't have it. Yeah, you're not instrument rated.
No.
Still, I would think that'd be helpful, just because it's easy, even if you're looking out the window to accidentally.
Well, you could see that he had his camera on too, and right in the middle of the camera was an artificial horizon, and it was a website.
Yeah, my camera does that. Come to think of it, yeah. Because you don't want if you're taking a sunset picture, you don't want it to slope downhill. So they automatic, because it's just a gyroscope in there. So a phone would do it.
How do you get to that website again?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if they're gone. That's the problem with the websites. Anybody have so you could do it. You're saying you'd be willing to do it on your smartphone?
Yes. Mm-hmm. And then you could put it right in your windshield.
Sure.
Fly along.
So
sometimes you get caught in fog or something. And
here's an app for you. Do you have an iPhone or an Android phone?
iPhone. It's an older one.
Yeah. So there's an app for Android called Artificial Horizon. Okay. Actually, there's one for iPhone called Aircraft Horizon. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, I'm looking here at App Crawler. It says the best artificial horizon apps for iOS, and there's 100 of them.
Okay.
So I think I see Spyglass was $6. It might still be available on the iPhone. Theodolite, iFly GPS, Aircraft Horizon. And, the Aircraft Horizon is cool because it actually looks like the gauge that you'd have on the plane.
Yeah. Even Spyglass did too.
Yeah.
Okay, his camera was on too.
Yeah.
You could see around.
Oh, you could see through it. Oh, that's cool. But you're saying it's off the App Store now?
Apparently, we're having trouble getting it.
Yeah, that happens. Companies, for instance, they don't update it.
Okay.
And Apple, as time goes by, they change. But here's what I would do. You don't need FAA approval to use this. It's just for fun, right? Because you're VFR. You're not.
You could. We've been caught, sometimes in a rain or a fog or something.
Yeah, you can't tell. That's right. It's easy.
Helpful.
Yes, absolutely. So I don't see Spyglass anymore, but I just did a search in the App Store for artificial horizons, and I see a ton of them.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think you're going to have any trouble. Just, Spyglass, who knows? Maybe the company went bankrupt, or maybe they just it probably was just some guy wrote it, right? And he got tired of it.
Oh, okay.
And but I see a ton of them here.
Okay.
So do a search for artificial horizon on your App Store, and I bet you'll find exactly what you need.
I was wondering how you get your camera with an app.
Well, that's a feature of the app. So look for an app that will do that. Not all of them will.
Okay.
There's one called A-EFIS, black and white, which is an electronic flight information system for airplanes. It runs in your iPhone. It's everything, man. This is amazing. I don't know if it's not to be used in helicopters. You're not using a helicopter, are you?
No.
Okay. You're right. It should have the camera should come through. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yes.
This one doesn't look like it does, but it has great ratings, and it's free.
Okay.
So that's one to take a look at, A-EFIS. And there's Aircraft Horizon. Some of them must use the see through the camera. That's not a hard thing to do. That's just a question of putting that in the app.
A-E-I-F.
A-EFIS. EFIS. That stands for Electronic Flight Information System, I'm guessing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's the first one that came up when I did a search, and it has a lot of ratings, good ratings. It says fly with your iPhone, don't use it in a helicopter or in a car. Have fun. Fly safe. That sounds like so much fun. You'd think they just put that automatically in the plane cockpit in the gauges, but I guess it's an expensive thing to have. There's a number of EFIS apps. If there's a pilot out there, Chris, why don't you ask? Chris from Miami shows up on the Pilot Guy, or is it Chris or Micah? No, it's Micah shows up on the Pilot Guy show, and maybe you could ask him. He might know. He probably only flies planes that have one automatically. That's my guess. Should we try Corey again? Let's see if Corey's there. Are you there, Corey?
1020.
It's Cody.
Cody. That's why I got it wrong, from Duluth. Hi, Cody.
That's me.
Welcome.
Sorry I missed you earlier. We were
You're driving
with our newborn.
Oh, congratulations. How old?
2 months.
Oh boy. What an interesting time to be born into.
We got her home from the hospital just before everything got crazy.
That's actually great.
For that.
And you know what? This is the time when you want to nest anyway.
Yeah, it's been fortunate, but unfortunate at the same time.
They're saying that this generation will be called the Generation C, the COVID generation.
Ah, sure.
She's the first in the COVID generation. What's her name? Is it a boy or girl?
Girl.
Girl. What's her name?
Eleanor.
Oh, that's a beautiful name. That must be a family name.
No, we just kind of liked it and picked it.
Oh, I love it.
We went with it.
Cody, I have to take a break. The photo guy's coming up. Can you hang on, or do you want to call back?
Nope, I'll hang on.
All right, it'll be about 10 minutes.
Thank you.
You get to spend a little more time with Eleanor. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you this week by my friends at FreshBooks, and I mean it too. I love Rob and the gang over there, and partly because I started using them way back 15 years ago when I was a freelancer going up to Canada to do the Call for Help show. I hated invoicing. I hated it. Amber told me about FreshBooks. It made my life a lot easier. FreshBooks starts by making professional-looking invoices you can send to your clients. It even it lets you set up, it kind of comes with the territory, the ability for your clients to pay online with a credit card or ACH in the U.S. And that's awesome because, truthfully, if you make it easy for your clients to pay, you get paid more quickly. On average, twice as fast. With everything that's going on in the world, FreshBooks wants you to know you're not alone. Isolation, hey, it's something many small business owners feel all the time. And, of course, with today's situation, it's even more present. Let FreshBooks help your work-from-home process or transition be smooth. So it starts with the FreshBooks app. Download it today, the FreshBooks website. The app is great because it lets you keep tabs on your business no matter where you are, anywhere, anytime. You can create client profiles. You can enable automation for recurring invoices, so you don't even have to make the invoice. It just does it for you. You'll love it. You can watch as FreshBooks automatically combines expenses, billable time, and other items into invoices to send to clients on your behalf. You can use their fabulous accounting and reporting tools to file your taxes or evaluate your financials. FreshBooks is here to help you get you through this tough time. 24 million people use FreshBooks. It's got 4.5 out of 5 stars on GetApp. You can focus on what you got into business for, not the bookkeeping, not the paperwork. Save time invoicing, expensing, tracking your work. They've saved users almost 200 hours a year. You can also stop chasing after the money your clients owe you. Enable online payments. That makes it easier for them. You'll get paid twice as fast, but also you'll get notifications when clients open the invoices so they can't say, I didn't get it. And FreshBooks will automatically send late payment reminders and bill late fees if you want to impose those. That makes it really easy. And I love the support team there in Toronto, Canada. They're just great. They're dedicated to helping you when you need it. And they're there, even now, they're there to help. Whether you're a freelance photographer, a carpenter, or maybe a podcaster like me, you can choose a plan that's right for you. Visit freshbooks.com/twit. Enter the tech guy in the How Did You Hear About Us section so they know you saw it here. You'll get 30 days free. Freshbooks.com/twit. Don't forget to put tech guy in there so I get credit. By the way, for a limited time, FreshBooks is offering this kind of nice little bonus here, 50% off your first 3 months when you sign up for that paid plan. That's for new customers only. Offers can't be combined. Freshbooks.com/twit. Thank you, FreshBooks, and stay healthy. Chris Marquardt is at home. Hello, Chris.
Hey,
we were just watching in the break the very funny Saturday Night Live skit last Saturday they did the whole thing remote last night, I guess, and they did a Zoom call. Oh, man. We've all been on that call, though, haven't we?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And it is really, this is kind of the thing I want to talk about today, because everyone is on video calls right now. Everyone is on Zoom meetings or Jitsi meetings or FaceTime meetings. And I'm pretty sure you have someone that you have been trying to FaceTime and all you saw were like their ear.
Oh yeah. So, my mom, I can never, she uses an iPad and the iPad, it's not easy to see where the camera is. And she's always looking at, somewhere else. And I keep saying, no, Mom, it's over there. But it's okay. It's fine.
But for all of us who are now working in a home office situation and we have to talk to people all the time and be on camera all the time, that's something you and I, Leo, we have kind of worked through.
We're trained professionals. We've been doing
camera,
this for years.
We have a decent lighting setup. We have something in the background that looks nice or that's at least somewhat interesting to look at. And of course, there's a lot of things. So I want to talk about 3 things today that you can do. The first is, where do you put your camera? Camera position is really important. The second thing, just a few ideas about the background. And third thing is lighting, because light is what this is about. Without light, you wouldn't look good. And it's easy in the video conference situation to get the lighting a bit weird. So let's start with the camera position. And that's a very simple one. Where do you place the camera? Well, probably not on your desk level. If you have a laptop and you sit it on your lap or at the same height, then it's looking up at you. That's not a good angle. So more like nose hair videography, I guess.
That's what we call it, the nose cam. Yeah, not a
the
good
nose
choice.
Cam. Yep.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So super simple tip: get a few books or something on your desk and put the laptop on that, so it's kind of at eye level, maybe even slightly above that. It might make it harder to type, yes, of course, but it will look much better if you have an external webcam. If you're like on a desktop system with a plug-in webcam, that should be much easier to get up a bit higher. And then if you're doing this on a smartphone, get a cheap smartphone holder. They're really not expensive, and often they come with a little clamp, so you clamp them at something and at the right height, and then that will also be less tiring for your arm.
There's a lot to be said for not using the camera on the laptop because you're so stuck with its position. It's only in one spot. If you can get an external camera, you can put it somewhere, you can raise it, you can lower it, you can get a much better angle.
And with all these systems, with Zoom and Jitsi and whatever they are called, your smartphone is often the better choice for a camera because it's a better camera than the webcam in your computer normally. It is it can handle difficult lighting much better. In general, if you have the choice, doing a video meeting with a camera, doing it with a smartphone is probably the better choice.
It's also, if you're using the microphone on the laptop and you're using the camera on the laptop, they'll hear you typing. Just a tip. They'll know you're not paying attention.
Okay, yeah, and of course muting yourself when you're not talking.
Very important.
That kind of stuff should be kind of the norm anyway. Yeah. The second thing is just the room you're in. Do you have a background? And most people forget that they have a background. There's something behind you, and this could be, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be just a blank wall. Why not? But this could also be just something that is interesting but not too distracting. I mean, I wouldn't put any blinking lights back there because then people will stare at that. So you could do a little set building. Why not? Put something nice there, maybe a plant or some books or some smart books, right? Make you look better. Also, let's quickly switch over to lighting because that is kind of the thing that even when we're photographers and we kind of know about lighting, I have the feeling that as soon as a video conference is going on, people forget about all this. But it's the same lighting rules. It's the same things. It helps to keep the brightness somewhat even. I mean, just imagine you're sitting with a window in your back. If you have a bright window behind you, you will be a silhouette. You will be so dark that you will have to do something about that in terms of either pull a curtain, make that window darker, or bring some light into the foreground. That could be a desk lamp. That could be all sorts of things. If you are in front of a dark room, that's the opposite. You are bright because, I don't know, the screen is lighting your face, but the background is very dark. And that, again, is going to make it difficult for a webcam to get a good picture of you. So in that case, maybe switch a light on in the background and add some light there so you even out the lighting between you and what's behind you.
Whatever you do, though, don't sit in front of a window.
That is the big problem.
We have a producer and he says, I'm doing it on purpose because I don't want anybody to see me, but he's just a silhouette because the window is so bright behind him. It's just a cutout outline of his body. And that's not a great way to do it. I
mean, you can counter that by throwing more light in your face, by having a brighter light and kind of trying to light up your face so it's as bright as the window.
Photographers will understand that. That's a fill light, you know.
That would be a fill light, yeah. So keeping it. And the next thing is if you have just a white wall behind you, again, try to at least light it in a way that it's kind of similar in brightness to your face so your camera will not have a hard time doing that. There's another function that I've seen. I think Zoom supports it and maybe some others as well. And that is to use a green screen. So you could get one of these pop-up. I think you want to look for like a pop-up or collapsible green background. You'll probably find this on Amazon or in B&H Photo, which is pretty much like it looks like a reflector that photographers would use to bounce light, but it's in green or in blue. And some of the software can take that out and replace it with a different background. It might be a bit jagged on the edges because these systems are don't have the power to really do it well like you would see on a weather presenter in television, but good enough usually. There's one function I don't really like in these systems, that's the blur my background. Now,
I hate those. I have to get people to turn it off because it doesn't work well.
Oh, it doesn't work. It gets the edges wrong, so you have this weird trend, going from your face to the blurred background looks wrong. And I mean, I understand for a business reason someone might have to do it because
they don't want the messy house to show up.
Or that, but yeah. I would rather not have that on.
No, I agree with you.
There we go.
Yeah, yeah. You have a blurred background, but you come by it honestly. You're using a camera with some depth of field. Yeah.
That's what I do.
And because, if you're a photographer, you may have, many point and shoots have video out, HDMI out. I'm using a relatively inexpensive Canon point and shoot as my main camera. It looks 20 times better than any, camera for, on a laptop or anything like that. It's got great depth of field. So it kind of looks like you're probably using a DSLR or something for your camera, Chris.
That's something along those lines, yeah. But use a smartphone. I mean, again, the smartphone will probably...
Yeah. With the right software, it can even be used as a camera for your Mac or PC. Ecamm, for instance, will do that on the Mac. I'm not sure what the PC software is, but there's stuff out there. Chris Marquardt, discoverthetopfloor.com. Sparko Cam on Windows. Thank you, Joe.
I'm still looking for a solution to make OBS into a virtual webcam on the Mac.
I thought you could. There's no plugin for that?
There's a plugin to make it a virtual cam on Windows, and on the Mac I think it's like a very complicated 3-step thing that you have to run several things. I've been all over the search engines for that.
Micah has been using a program from Ecamm that works beautifully. Gives you it's called Ecamm Live. Software switching. It's really nice, and there's a free trial. Take a look at that, and it does show up as your webcam.
I know, but does it integrate with the Stream Deck, for example?
Oh, I love the Stream Deck.
I'm trying to move some workshops into an online format.
So you're using this as a switcher?
Yes, that's exactly the thing I'm looking at right now.
I love the Stream Deck.
So that is that integrates so nicely into OBS, and then you can. But it only does the live streaming thing and the recording thing, but not the virtual webcam thing,
right.
Which.
So I'm using the Blackmagic Atem Mini, which is just phenomenal, and that is a virtual webcam. That shows up as a webcam, and that does all of that and more. It's funny because we're way ahead of the game because we've been playing with this for years, so we've got the setups to do it. So with the Atem Mini and a couple of HDMI live, HDMI out cameras, I can do a whole studio. That's got 4 HDMIs in. One of them can be a computer. I'm
just looking at that. This is fairly new, isn't it?
Yeah, it's brand new. They just announced the Mini Pro, which has built-in streaming. So you can that has a streamer in it. You don't have to use the software for the streaming. But that is a really great solution. It's basically like your Stream Deck, except it's designed to be a video switcher. It's the real deal.
And as a hardware switcher, yeah.
Yeah. I think the Atem Mini is fabulous, but it's going to be hard to get. Maybe not. It was back ordered on B&H when I ordered it, but so it took me a month or two to get. For $300, that's a great choice.
That's how much it is.
Yeah, it has Type-C out that shows up as the webcam on your computer. So all of that switching, and then it has software that uses the Atem software. So you have a lot more capability in the computer that you can assign to it than just the basic switches, but it has picture-in-picture.
And 400 euros here, but that includes tax. No, it's important tax. Is always
that's so bad. Really a nice solution. I've been very happy with it.
Looks good.
If you do want to do streaming, the problem with the Atem Mini Pro, that's $300 more. So
that's 770 euros here.
Yeah, it's expensive, and that one will be back ordered probably. We did this. We did the Blackmagic stream last week where they announced it. It was really, really interesting. I love what the you probably watch that stream and you can see what they can do. It's really amazing.
It is backordered, but well, it's that's definitely a potential solution. Yeah.
It basically gives you all this capabilities of the stream. I'm going to bring the Stream Deck home because
it's more complicated because I have to integrate one remote participant with another host.
Well, as long as that, you need to put him on a computer with HDMI out.
Sure.
Now he's an input.
Well, but he's remote, as in really remote.
Yeah. No, but I'm saying if he's Skype or does he use Skype? What does he use to get to you?
Oh, we have different ways to do that.
So whatever he's using,
problem, but
you put him on a laptop with HDMI out, and now he goes into the switcher, and his audio and video is camera 1 or camera 2.
Oh, that's okay. Sorry, I misunderstood you. No, makes perfect sense.
Yeah,
totally.
You can do. The only limit is 4 HDMI ports.
Yeah. No, that's plenty.
But I think it's plenty for 90% of what people do. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. All right, thank you. Until next week.
Take care. Boy, I suddenly realized, thank you, Chris, for spending some time on that, on some Zoom tips. I realized we could probably spend a whole show or two giving you tips on participating in video conferences and having better video from your house. It's something Chris has been doing for years because he does video podcasts from his home. I normally come into a studio to do my podcasts. We have a very nice video studio, but I have all the tools, and they're not expensive to do it at home. A product that I use that I really like comes from Blackmagic Design. They have a line of video switchers called the Atm, and they recently came out with the Atm Mini, which is a $300 hardware switcher. It lets you have up to 4 HDMI inputs, 2 audio inputs, and then it itself outputs as a webcam. So you plug it in to your computer, the computer says, oh, that's a webcam, and now you can do all the switching. So you could have multiple people in your house, or you could have people on Skype come in. You really could do quite a bit of video production. It has transitions, it has green screen, it has a lot of the features, big television studios have. Honestly, when I watch, it's so funny to see, all the network television now being done from people's houses. And somebody was saying, if you watch, I don't know if you watch Live with Kelly, which is a great show I used to be on a regular basis as their tech guy way back when it was with Kelly and Regis. But now it's Kelly and, the other guy, Ryan Seacrest. And apparently Ryan's doing it from his kitchen. I haven't seen it yet. And he's got his laptop propped up on books like the rest of us. Don't you think ABC could go over to his house and set him up? Give him a camera maybe? I really do wonder when I see some of these network productions and they're making mistakes we used to make 15 years ago when we first started podcasting. Well, I guess they're just starting. They're just beginning, aren't they? If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer. Give me a call, Ryan. It's okay. Richard in Grand Rapids, Michigan is next. Hi, Richard. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Happy Easter, Leo.
Happy Easter. Oh, I hung up on Cody. Cody, call me back. Forgot we had him on hold all that time. Happy Easter to you, Richard. That's all right. We'll get him. We'll get Cody and Eleanor back on the line.
Okay.
Apologies. Good. Yeah. What can I do for you?
Well, I got a Samsung S5 cell phone, and I had it for about 5 years. Went through 2 batteries. What I'm asking you for is, how can I tell when it's time to replace it?
When it's done, when you're done with it, maybe more importantly. So you already have replaced the batteries. That's usually the first and pretty much the only thing that's going to wear out on a smartphone. The battery, you get about 2 years, 3 years out of it, and then it just doesn't hold a charge. But that's already happened to you, and you replaced it. Yeah. That makes it good as new. The next thing to worry about is, when do updates stop?
Yeah.
When is Samsung going to say, and I believe that's happened already for the S5. When is Samsung going to say, yeah, that's old, we're not going to give you the latest security patches? And that's when maybe, especially with Android. Now, I have to figure you're a smart guy, Richard, and you probably don't download, I don't know, Russian wallpaper apps, right?
Right,
yeah.
right.
You're not going to hacker.com to get the latest cracked version of something. No, in fact, if you don't install any new software on there, chances are you're fine. Almost always on Android, and this is true actually of iOS too, the bad guys get in through malicious apps. So as long as, even though Samsung is not updating it, and you're using an old version of Android, I don't know, what are you, Android 5? Android 6?
Probably.
You're a pretty old version of Android. That's all okay because it still works. Really, the only issue is security. And unlike Windows where, the security becomes such a problem on Windows that a bad guy can get stuff into your system without you downloading anything, mobile operating systems are pretty much designed not to be vulnerable to that. The big vulnerability there is apps. So I would say as long as you're happy with the S5, it still works. The apps you want to use still work. And you're very careful, or better yet, don't download new apps at all.
No, right, that's me.
You're fine.
Okay.
That's the one thing to be aware of is the security issue.
Yeah. What would be the I don't want to say the latest, greatest, but what would be a newer?
Well, Samsung is now up to the S10, so you're 5 back.
I'm a little bit behind time.
You're a little bit back. And the S10, actually, I apologize. They're up to the S20, but that really should be the S11. So I apologize. They just released the S20. I actually would not recommend that. But because the S20 came out, you could get an S10 that I was never a fan of the S5. I loved the S1, 2, 3. The 5 I was a little disappointed with. Then the S6 was great, the 8. So I think that they've gotten better. The only thing you might not like is the size. They've also gotten bigger. But take a look at the S10. That would be more affordable because they've come out with a newer version and yet still very up to date. And boy, the cameras have gotten really good since the S5.
Yep. Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, Richard. Thank you.
And happy Easter.
Happy Easter. Now, I have to apologize to my buddy Cody and Eleanor. I'm so sorry I pressed the button too fast. I'm glad you got back in, Cody.
No problem.
I apologize. How's Eleanor? Is she okay?
She's good. She's sleeping in the back seat of the truck.
Of course she is. Is that why you're driving around?
Yeah, well, we're visiting the family through doors and windows. And we can't go in and see them.
I've noticed people doing that. It's so cute. I was visiting my son. I stayed on the curb. He was at his porch. And then right next door, the neighbors were doing the same thing. I think it's so sweet. And they want to see her, of course. That's the new baby.
Exactly.
How fun. So what can I do for you?
Well, much like many of your callers you had yesterday, I recently bought an Epson fast photo scanner.
Isn't that funny? That's good. And do you like it?
It's awesome. I bought it before, we're all stuck at home and I had a ton of time on our hands. But now I have a perfect opportunity to buzz through some old photos and get them scanned.
You bet.
Along with that, and obviously having a newborn, taking a bunch of new photos.
Yeah.
Trying to, figure out a process for tagging some of these pictures with metadata and things like that.
Now, the Epson, you probably know, by the way, sponsor. We talk about the fast photo a lot. One of the things it does that's really cool is it does two-sided. It'll get the back, and it will add what's on the back to metadata. So it does some metadata. But obviously, your parents, when they took baby pictures of you, did not write #Cody, #2 years old. So there is additional metadata that you might want to add, and that's going to be done in software. And really, it comes down to your photo organizing tool. Do you have one that you use?
Well, I've been using Adobe Bridge.
Okay.
For some of that. One of the things that I'm also doing is uploading all the photos to Google Photos, which does the facial recognition.
And by the way, that would be my first recommendation for automatic. It doesn't just do face recognition. I could type in Paris, and it will give me all my pictures of Paris. It's pretty smart. So I think that's a very good starting point. Then, it does it automatically. You don't have to do it.
Yeah, and that seems to work really well. What I was kind of hoping to do is...
You've arrived? Where are you now?
We were picking up our Easter dinner.
Oh, how fun. Oh, that's fun.
Sorry for the noise.
No, I don't mind. I'm kind of living vicariously through you, Cody, and your newborn. And your wife too, I take it, is with you.
That's right. Yeah, she's riding shotgun.
Nice. So you're a photographer. If you're using Bridge, you must have the Adobe Creative Suite.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So Lightroom, of course, is the tool that most photographers use and has excellent metadata technology, if that's what you want to do.
Okay.
I would not hesitate to use Lightroom for that. We used to use Picasa. Remember what a great program that was, and I'm so sad Google bought it and killed it. There's nothing, there's programs sort of like that. Like, are you on a Mac or PC?
PC.
Yeah. There's Earth and View. There are programs kind of like that. Bridge has that capability too. I mean, what is it that you're missing from those programs?
Well, one of the things, like Google Photos, you can search by a person's face. For instance, like my dad.
Hang on for just a second. We've got to take a break. I'll continue to talk to you off the air as you get your Easter dinner. I hope you're all enjoying your Easter Sunday. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls. And Drea DeMatteo coming up. Sorry about that. I keep putting you on hold. So, but you're back, and we'll continue the conversation. So, I mean, obviously you're a photographer, so you're a little more serious about this anyway.
And that might be, an amateur photographer. We bought a camera a long time ago when we first got married to take photos on our honeymoon, and I now have an excuse to learn how to actually use it.
You're gonna actually get very serious very quick as Eleanor grows up.
Yeah.
So there's two kinds of metadata. There's the traditional metadata, the EXIF data that JPEG store. That's almost all these programs we've talked about will do that kind of data. Face recognition. There are programs that will let you do it locally, but Google does such a good job. Unless you're paranoid about Google, I would continue to use Google Photos. All my photos, going back 20 years now, because that's when I first started digital, are on Google Photos, more than 100,000 photos. And I just think that's really great because, for instance, I can have one of the Echo Show or Echo Nest Home Hubs, whatever the hell they call those screens. It's not an Echo. It's a Google Nest Home Hub. And it's a photo library. It's a photo slideshow. And I can say, I want all the pictures of the kids, and it'll show pictures going back 20 years to now. And it's really fun. And that's all because that's all stored on Google Photos. Lightroom, I'm trying to remember, does Lightroom do face recognition? I don't think so. There are some third-party local tools that do face recognition. My experience with them is they are not as good as Google.
Okay. And Google seems to be, lights out, works great.
Yeah. And if you're not worried about privacy, and I don't think you need to be, they understand that they're using this for other, for artificial intelligence, for machine learning, things like that. But they're not saying, oh, I see a picture of a newborn, let's send him diaper ads.
Yeah.
I don't think they're doing that.
Yeah, and that doesn't concern me too much. It would have been nice to kind of update my local copies with some of that facial recognition.
I see what you're saying.
Sort of what I was looking to see if that was possible. That'd be a way of sorting.
That's really interesting. Because they don't put it in the metadata, do they? They know it, but they don't put it in the metadata.
Exactly. Maybe someone in the chat room.
That would be a really. I don't know if Google has ever exposed that. Wouldn't that be good?
Yeah.
I am going to look for something like that because that is brilliant. That is brilliant. I don't think they need an API where you could say, give me that data.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting point. Yeah. I'm going to have to research this because I don't know. And here's a question on Reddit. I'm trying to figure out a way to. Does Google Photos have the ability to read and edit the metadata of the local files? Yeah, Windows Photo Gallery had a mask tag and face recognition built in, but as I said, nothing's as good as Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. People tag info. So if there's a standard for the people tag, Microsoft has a schema for it, but that's a Microsoft thing. It would be. Why doesn't Google have a schema for it? Yeah, doesn't look like they do. I'm looking at this thread and everybody's saying, "Oh, it's too bad. I wish we did." Let me keep looking. Keep listening, Cody.
Okay.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Thanks a bunch. Thanks for taking my call.
Happy Easter.
We listen to you every weekend.
Oh, it's great to talk to you. Thank you, Cody. Take care.
Thanks, Leo.
Bye-bye. Yeah, that is a good point. What a useful thing that would be. To get the Google metadata. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here. The Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. Let's talk. You, me, high tech. We're all in it together. 888-827-5536. The website is always there for you. It's the place where we put everything that happens on the show so you can see it again later. If you hear something you want to write it down, you don't have to. James will write it down for you. Puts it up at techguylabs.com. And there's no sign up for that. That's free. techguylabs.com. Chat room. Chat room's here. They're all here. They're all in their places, bright, shining faces, 24/7. It's irc.twit.tv. You can use your browser, irc.twit.tv. Give yourself a good handle, a good nickname, so we know who you are. James in Los Angeles. Hello, James. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for taking my call. I have a cell phone. I've had this number for quite a few years. Last month, I purchased another cell phone. It's a flip phone. Activated it, brought it home, AT&T, and I had some icons on there for voicemail.
Yeah.
So when I hit the voicemail, the number one, it doesn't take me to these prompts. It takes me to a recording of a stranger I've never heard. It says, "Hi, my name is Susie," and it's not
my voicemail.
No.
So that's to be programmed in. So, did you take your number with you when you changed phones?
Yes.
Good. You ported the phone number over, but you apparently also copied over a bunch of data, including the voicemail data. Now, the voicemail phone number worked on the old carrier, but it's not going to work on the new carrier. So I would guess that there is in your contacts an entry voicemail that has been tied to pressing and holding 1. Delete that. That's Susie.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, okay. That's Susie. You don't want to call her anymore. It worked on the old carrier because apparently that number was special on the old carrier. Apparently not special on AT&T. Yeah.
Leo, it's the same carrier.
Oh, you moved? Well, then somehow
it's the same carrier.
Maybe AT&T does it differently this time. I don't know. But
I went from AT&T back to AT&T. Yeah, I did. I did not change anything.
See what's programmed in for the quick dial on 1. Normally, it isn't even a full phone number, but it will depend on AT&T. You can call them and say, "What's the number I should have programmed in for the quick dial on 1?" This is an old feature on smartphones that I don't think I still have this on my iPhone. No, used to be you'd press and hold 1, right, and it would dial a real number for you. Don't. that's not necessary anymore. And it might be that it's easy enough to fix by deleting if there is a contact in your contact list called voicemail. That would be my guess. David, Washington, D.C. Oh, no, that was David. Let's go to...
No, it is David.
Oh, it is David. You also have a question about AT&T. Go ahead.
I do. I had an email address. I didn't know you could do this, but you could use your phone number and then at att.mms.net.
That's right. That's right.
But sometimes when I email people, they don't get the emails, and I don't get their return emails.
It's text messaging. So what that email address is AT&T's MMS or SMS gateway. A message sent to that email address won't go to your email. It will go to your phone as a text message. Does that make sense?
Okay,
so don't give it out as your email address because it isn't your email address. It's a special gateway to your, that's why it begins with your phone number, to your text messaging. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. The best thing to do is you can use it to text people via email. That's really its intent. It's intended to be outbound, not inbound. So if you knew somebody's phone number and you knew their carrier, each carrier has their own gateway for this. So you want to send a text message from your email system, what you'll need to know is the phone number of the person you're sending it to and the email address for their carrier. And that's the only tricky thing is you don't generally know, Susie's on T-Mobile and Jeff's on AT&T and Johnny's on Verizon. You don't usually know that. If you can Google the email gateways or the SMS gateways for each of the carriers and get those. That's a simple thing to do. You know your AT&T one now. That's what that is.
But sometimes I do receive email from people.
Email at that address.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It's all jumbled up and stuff, but I mean...
That's interesting. It shouldn't come in as email unless AT&T is, for some reason, also sending it. Do you use AT&T as your email provider?
You mean for like a normal email?
Yeah.
No, not really.
They're not your internet service provider. They're not your email provider. And I don't know why you're getting an email. That's just a mistake. If you look up SMS gateways, you'll see each company each of the big phone companies has an SMS gateway that you can email to. Its intent is to allow you to email directly to text messages. And yours is MMS, which means you can also send pictures and so forth. I don't know why it would be showing up. That's an interesting issue. I'm not sure why it would be showing up in your email. It shouldn't. AT&T's is txt.att.net, or the one you were seeing, mms.att.net. T-Mobile, for instance, is tmomail.net. Verizon is vtext.com or vzwpix.com. Each carrier has their own. And so the fully formed email address is the full phone number, with the area code first. So 415-555-1212 at, and then vtext.com. You shouldn't, I can't think of why you'd be getting that as email. I'm not sure why you'd be getting it as email. Shouldn't come in that way. Our show today, coming up, by the way, in a little bit, we're going to talk to Andrea De Matteo. She's got a new podcast. Perfect timing. HBO has made The Sopranos available for free, along with a lot of their other really great shows. So you have an opportunity now to watch these classics without a HBO subscription. As we're all at home, I think that's a really neat thing. A lot of people watching The Sopranos again, or maybe, if you're really lucky, watching it for the first time. I envy you. Andrea has done a great podcast called Made Women. As they rewatch, they're literally going to rewatch all 80-some episodes of The Sopranos, and you can rewatch with them. We'll talk to Andrea De Matteo in just a little bit. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. The phone number. Lots of room for you if you want to call. This would be a good time to do it. Rudy's on the line from San Marino, California. Hi, Rudy.
Hi, Leo. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure. Thanks for calling.
I have first, let me begin by saying I have a wealth of ignorance when it comes to computers. And tell you that I have a dilemma. I have an older Sony all-in-one desktop that I have not used for a while, and I forgot my password.
Oy.
And I can't get into it. I know they have. I've seen some software.
You don't need to crack it. Although that might be tempting, and it might be fun, and it certainly be educational, but you don't have to do that. It depends on the era, but almost all of these older Windows machines have, first of all, what version of Windows is it? Do you know?
I'm going to say, no, I don't know, to be honest with you.
How old is the machine?
I'd say about 6 or 7 years old.
Okay. It's conceivable you have, you probably have Windows 7 on it.
Okay.
So I believe on almost all Windows 7 machines, there's a hidden administrator account that would allow you to get in if you've enabled it. And I think you can even enable it without logging in. So it's a number of steps involved, but I'm gonna give you a link that you can use and follow through the steps. Much easier than trying to crack the password. The truth is Windows isn't all that secure. It's really the password's there to slow somebody who happened to get into your house, slow them down, but it's not gonna keep you off. So
and this won't jeopardize any of the information.
No, because what'll happen is you're going to log in with another account, a hidden administrator account, and change the password of your main account to something you know, and then log out, and you'll be able to log into your main account. It's a question of just getting in there to change the password. That's the only thing you're going to use that hidden administrator account. And you have stuff on there you don't want to lose.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good reason. Good reason to do it. The easiest thing to do, I'm going to put a couple of links in the chat room, but you don't even have to wait till we get those up there. Just Google hidden administrator account Windows 7. And you can, once you enable it, there's no password on it. You just type admin, hit return, and you'll be logged in, and you'll be able to go then to the user's control panel and change your password to something you know.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think
now, let me ask you this, if I may.
Yes.
Would there be like an outside service or consultant that might be able to do this? Because I'm almost certain that I would follow this up.
You have very, very little, very little confidence here. I see. It's good to know one's limits. It's absolutely good to know one's limits. I think you can do this. I do. I think you can do this without too much problems. There are videos which might be easier than following along an article. So you can also look for YouTube videos on logging into Windows without your password if you forget your password. This is a fairly common thing. If you had a Microsoft account, you might have. You don't. Okay.
No.
Okay.
And even if it's out Windows 7, does it still?
Yeah, and older, it's even easier. The older the version, the better.
Oh, okay.
They've slowly blocked up these holes because it isn't really good to make it be completely insecure. But I think Windows 7 is fairly secure. But I think there are ways to do this. Even Microsoft has a page on their support. Can't log into my Windows 7 user account. And has some suggestions there too. So there are a number of places you can find this. If you really can't figure it out, you can bring it to the Geek Squad at Best Buy or somewhere like that, and they can do it for you too.
I see.
Yeah,
okay.
First of all, nothing to be embarrassed about. It's a very common issue, and it's I get this call at least 3 times a year.
Oh,
it's very common.
I've called twice before.
Oh, okay. With the same question?
I'm only kidding.
No, okay. This is your 3rd call this year. You're banned now. No more calls for you, Rudy. No. It's. I think it feels embarrassing. It's not. It happens all the time.
Okay.
And it's fairly easy to get into it. You just have. There are a couple of techniques you just need.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you don't want to do the research, bring it to the Geek Squad. They'll do it for you.
Great.
Make sure you tell them, because one thing they can do is just wipe your drive and reinstall Windows. Make sure you tell them there's stuff on here I want.
Right.
Don't let them just wipe it out willy-nilly. You shouldn't have to pay. There's lots of ways to get in. It's and you could crack it, but I think that's a last gasp attempt. In almost every case, you can get in without having to crack the password. 8888 Ask Leo. If you've got a better idea, you can call me. You can also go to the website, techguylabs.com. Not only do we have answers there, but you can leave your suggestions there. There's a comment box on every question. And it's always a great way to help out. Always a great way to help out. And I don't, I shouldn't have said that. Can you go into a Best Buy now? I bet you can. Call them ahead and see. Maybe they have drop-off. Maybe they have a drop-off to do that. Gary, Indiana. Well, that's a convenient. Hi, Gary. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, how you doing, Leo?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Well, happy Easter. What can I do for you?
Yeah, happy Easter.
Thank you.
I got 2 questions. Gave my son a 5 terabyte mechanical.
Aren't you nice?
Hard drive, and I put several movies on it that I have on my library.
Mm-hmm.
And he plugged it into his laptop. Laptop says this thing needs to be formatted.
Oh, he's not. Now, are you on a Windows and he's on a Mac or something like that?
No, both on Windows.
And it says it needs to be formatted.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what? Can it just go? No, I believe he's still on 7.
That shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
If you could read it and write it on whatever version, certainly Windows 10, he should be able to, unless something happened on the way over. A couple of things to check. Make sure his cable isn't bad.
Okay.
It could be that, it sounds like it was a USB external drive.
Right.
Yeah. It could be is it possible that it's formatted in a way? So you have Windows 10, he has Windows 7.
Right, and the movies were all, in fact, for the most part, were all recorded. I have a TV card on my main PC, so when I'm watching on demand, and I'm like, I want to keep this movie, so record it.
Well, but it's not even a question of him not being able to play the movie. He can't even see what's on the disc, right?
Right, yeah. His computer's saying this thing needs to be formatted first. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. The chat room's saying... Could it be that it's a GPT partition? And of course, well, Windows 7, I think if it's a late, make sure he's up to date on his Windows 7. I think Windows 7 can see GPTs, so I don't think that's it. It just could be that it got damaged in transit. Can he bring it back? Did you mail it to him, or did you bring it to him?
I took it to him. I possibly just
run over and get it again and see if you can still see it. If you can and he can't, and there's nothing wrong with the drive, it's because it's such a large drive. It might be that it's confusing Windows 7 because we didn't really have big drives like that until fairly recently.
Yeah, that's right.
And so let's see. I'm just looking through here. It may be that it is because it's such a large drive in GPT format, which it'd have to be, that Windows 7 just says, I don't know what to do with this. It's so big. It's so big. I wonder if there's a tool you can install that would help him out.
Because I was wondering if nothing, it was the phrase "nothing from nothing." Have him go ahead and blast the hard drive.
No, he won't. It's because I think he needs to update Windows 7. He's got an older version, I would guess. If it's not damaged, he's got an older version that can't read a 5 terabyte drive. It's just too big. He probably has it booted into, it might be an older machine booted into BIOS mode. And for that reason, it may be an issue. Maybe, I got a hint for you, but hang on. Maybe the key for you would be to take that big drive and partition it into 3 smaller drives, 2 terabytes and 1 terabyte.
Oh, okay.
And then he'll be able to read it just fine.
Okay, real quick question. This is more recent, very recent, within the last 3 or 4 hours. My wife has a BlackBerry Key 1. She brought it to me, and the battery has blown out the back of it. So
it's bulging?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's a problem.
Yeah.
Lithium-ion batteries are very dangerous. If they get too big and blow up, she could have a little fire there on her hands. So generally when that happens, it's the company that made it would immediately replace it. And they would say, don't mail it. We don't want it. Can you, is it one of the, I don't know about the T1. Can you open it up and take out the battery?
Well, it's kind of opened up. It's kind of opened itself.
It's open. So it's sealed.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah. Don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. Whatever you do, don't use it and don't charge it.
Oh, no.
A bulging battery is dangerous. What sometimes happens, this is what happened. Remember when the Galaxy Note, what was it, the Note 8 blew up? The reason was the battery was so tight in there, if it expanded at all, it would puncture itself and it would then catch on fire. And if they catch on fire in an enclosed space, they can actually explode. So it's a bulging battery is a failing battery. It's not normal. It's dangerous. The problem is, how are you going to get it to BlackBerry? I don't even know if there's anybody answering the phones anymore.
Yeah, I don't either.
So
I just looked on Amazon for a replacement for it, and they're showing.
No, yeah, a bulging lithium-ion battery is not something you're going to want to mess with, because what you really do, it has inside all sorts of volatile chemicals, toxic chemicals, and as it bulges, it gets closer to breaking that case that it's in. And if it does that, and I don't mean the phone itself, but the battery's enclosed in the protective wrapper, if it breaks through that, you got problems. So don't mess with it. Call BlackBerry. They must have a service line, and tell them. And they don't make them anymore. They licensed it to somebody else, I think HMD or somebody. But call their service and support and tell them, I've got a bulging battery. They should replace that phone for free, even if it's out of warranty, because that's so dangerous.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. And I would, if I were you, I would put it in a metal box, somewhere safe away from the house.
Yes, it's going out. It's going out in the back.
Yeah, it's dangerous. It could catch on fire.
Yeah.
If you can't, now's a hard time, right? But if you can't get it replaced, I would definitely bring it to an independent repair shop, see what they can do. But this is a problem.
Yeah, I've pulled the SD card and the SIM card. So
yeah, don't mess with it.
Just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the main thing is don't charge it. Treat it like it might explode at any moment. It probably won't. It's not going to, it's probably inert at this point. It's not going to get worse, but I wouldn't mess with it.
Yeah. It's going out of the house.
All right. Good to talk to you, Gary.
Yeah, same here.
Take care.
Have a great day.
You too. Happy Easter. Bye-bye. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Drea Di Matteo, you've seen her so many times. Most recently, she was fabulous. I don't know if you saw her as Detective Tess Nazario on Shades of Blue with J-Lo. She was Joey's sister on the sitcom Joey. She was on Sons of Anarchy. But the show she's best known for, the show we all fell in love with her on, was The Sopranos. Drea has a new podcast called Made Women. It's a Sopranos rewatch podcast. She and her co-host, Chris Kushner, sit down and watch episodes and talk about it. And I talked to her on Friday. I asked Drea what it was like to go back and relive those old shows.
It really still is. It's like it never stopped. It's so strange to me. It's still strange to me that it's still this much of a phenomenon. I mean, it's not that strange because I do remember how amazing it was. And of course, now that we started the rewatch, I really remember why it was so amazing. But
it was your first big job, right?
Yeah, it was my first big job. In some ways, I feel like it really has been my only job.
Well, you've done so many things since then, but
yeah, but nobody, it's funny. It's 20 years later, and I don't look exactly the same. Well, I guess I do look pretty much the same, but I look like an old lady back then, so I get caught up now.
So not true.
But people only want to talk about The Sopranos. No one cares about anything else I did, so it doesn't really matter. I know I've been on some big TV shows, but I sort of felt like after The Sopranos, if I never do anything else, I'll be okay because I got to do this, and this was. It had every single element that any actor could ever want. And I wasn't greedy. So I just sort of felt like, well, if it all goes away at this point, then it's okay.
So are you going to go through every episode? There's how many episodes? Are 50, 60 episodes?
I think it's more like 80 something.
Wow.
There were 13 in a season. But yeah, so when they wanted us to do this, I thought, God, man, I don't think that I'm really equipped to go through each episode and talk about them. I'm not really the insider because I wasn't there all the time. Nobody was there all the time, even the other actors, I just wasn't sure if I'd be able to handle something like that. And then when I thought about the idea of the original show we wanted to do, which deals more with people's psychology and where people are at emotionally and in their lives, I thought, Jesus, this show is all about that. Yeah. All it does is hit on everyone's existential crises, everybody's personality disorders, and the whole idea of family and all of the reasons why that show appealed to so many different audiences on so many different levels. You had the Goombas who loved it for the gunshots and the mafia show. And then you had people women who loved it as a family show and could identify with all those players. And then you had the critics that really got it for the intellect behind it and the artistry behind it, which was really, I mean, it was a love song, that show. It was really beautifully done. So I felt like, all right, I think I'll be able to dissect this show and not feel like I'm just doing a rewatch. So it's more of a relate. We refer to it as more of a relate than a rewatch, even though we take everybody through the scenes.
Everybody loves The Sopranos. I've rewatched it several times, but it'll be really fun to do it with Adriana. I still hear you saying Christopher for some reason.
I hear it in my nightmares and my dreams. Because anytime I walked out, you know what? Being in quarantine, I thought this will be the first time I don't hear someone yell at me, give me a Christopher. And now we started this
Really?
podcast.
They do that?
All day long.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, but I kind of love it, and I do it. But the only thing is I always felt uncomfortable saying it on the show. So I even went to David Chase and said, hey, man, can I call him Chrissy? Because I feel like my accent is being stretched a little too far to stereotype. I said, I feel funny. I feel like my accent sounds fake. He's like, no, you have to call him Christopher. And
Christopher.
Christopher. Christopher. So high-pitched and whiny.
Do people say no spoilers?
Well, you know what? People do say that to me all the time. I don't care, obviously.
You know what happened.
Ancient, but all these kids are watching it now.
Yeah.
Like, I have an assistant who's 20. She was 21 when she started working with me, and she had never seen it.
Oh, my God.
And all of these kids are watching it now, even teenagers. So it's having this whole new rebirth.
I envy them getting to see it all over again.
I know. Well, you know what? I only watched it as it aired because I was a massive fan during the days of the show. I wouldn't even read the scripts. And they all kind of teased me like, oh, you're that actor. You only read your own lines. I was like, no, I actually am obsessed with this show and I need to watch it on Sundays with the rest of the world. And I also felt like I had no relationship to my character. So I didn't even think of myself as being a player on the show. No, back then, not at all. And now even going back and looking at it, I'm like, oh my God, that was me. Like I look at her like a baby. You know? And that character was a baby.
She had a hard life.
She was the innocence on the show.
Yeah.
People always sort of, especially a lot of the Italian audience and a lot of the guys that loved it for the mafia element. There, she's a rat. She's a dumb, all kinds of filthy names. Rat, this, that, the other thing. And I was just like, no, man, she's the innocence on the show. That's like her whole purpose for being there.
Yeah.
Once you destroy her, then everybody's morality, everything just sort of falls apart. And she believed in love. Like that was her striving for her best. And she's a martyr and she believes in Christopher and the whole thing,
And he's such a louse. I always felt so bad for Adriana.
I know.
Oh.
I loved it. It was really great to be a part of that. It was a beautiful show.
See, I'm warning you, 74, something bad happens.
Is it the car accident?
No, it's the end of the line.
Oh, it is? Oh, it's 74.
I'm thinking, I have to do my math, but if I did it right, episode 74.
I know it was
season 5, episode 12, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Again, no spoilers. I'm not going to say what happens to Adriana, but for me, literally in the whole series, that was the most. And I don't think I'm alone. That was the most gut-wrenching moment. Because here's one of the major characters, right?
And I was an unexpected character. So when he told me I was, that my time was close, I just said thank you. I never expected to be on the show. I wasn't hired as a series regular. I was hired as a day player. In the pilot, I wasn't even the same character. I was a different character.
Oh.
And they transferred her over to being a hostess in a restaurant since I was a hostess in the pilot. So I had never expected to live out my days on that show at all. It was a gift. Every day was a gift for me. So I never took it for granted. So when he told me my time was coming close, I said, you know what, man, it was a beautiful storyline. I'm very happy to have been able to play it for you. And I'm not going to argue.
Yeah. They shot it 2 ways.
Yes, they did. And a friend of mine just listened to the podcast that our Thursday podcast, because now we're actually putting out an extra episode every Thursday because people are really digging the Monday Monday rewatches. Yeah. So now on Thursdays they just kind of want us just being us and talking. But instead we decided to bring the fans on and we talked to some. We're picking a kitchen consigliere every week. So someone has to submit a funny Italian video of them cooking. Because cooking is everything in our lives.
I got that. I'll send you that.
Send it.
So Finabla Fan Thursday, and then on every Monday you get a new episode of The Sopranos. This has just begun, so don't feel left out, folks. You're just now on episode 3, so.
Yeah, it's brand new. We rushed to release during the quarantine because we know everybody's rewatching right now.
I'm so glad. And welcome to the podcast world. It's really great to have you, and it's a great show. I really enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to this great journey all the way through. What is it? How many? 80 some episodes of The Sopranos with Andrea De Matteo. It's called Made Women, the Made Women podcast. Look for it on your podcast client. I think you'll love it. Man, I envy anybody watching The Sopranos for the first time. One of the best TV shows ever made. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Line 2, our old friend, the old chef guy from Agua Caliente. Hello, old chef guy.
Greetings, sir.
Greetings. How are you?
Salutations. I'm never sure what that means.
I don't either. It's just one of those things people say.
With a slight sweeping motion of the hand.
Yes. Greetings and salutations, my friend.
Exactly.
Yes.
I don't know what the salutations are.
I'm a great thespian.
My question is, I want to migrate my photos, if possible, in the app F-Stop Pro from my S10 to my OnePlus 7 Pro. Or migrate into an open source Simple Gallery Pro.
So all of the apps are in F-Stop Pro. They're not in your just plain old Samsung Gallery.
Correct.
All right. So this is sometimes you see this with third-party camera apps. They have their own gallery, but there must be a way. I hope it's not one at a time. There must be a way you could say, "Oh, take this gallery and put it into my Samsung gallery."
Yeah.
Because that would be the easiest, and then of course you could.
Wouldn't that be great?
But there's no way to do that.
Nothing. No, I actually emailed the gentleman who designed F-Stop Pro, which I've used for several phones, and he said, "Oh no, it won't migrate the photos. You have to do them by folder by folder."
Okay.
Exactly. That's my reaction.
So now that means, and this would be maybe faster anyway. You're going to want to hook the phone up to a computer, search for it. The file folder structure in Android is arcane, to say the least, but you'll find it. They'll all be there as JPEGs. There won't be any, there won't be, I don't think, unless he's doing something really crazy like creating a database or something. They'll probably just be there. And then you copy the files off to your computer, then switch in the OnePlus Pro 7 Pro, and then copy it back onto the OnePlus 7 Pro into its own gallery folder. Basically, it's as you would expect. There is a folder with the images. There's a kind of canonical folder that the OnePlus 7 gallery uses. There's a folder, I presume, for F-Stop Pro, and you're just going to get it off of one and get to the other. The way to do this, do you have Windows or Mac?
Mac.
It's a little, I don't know if, I think Samsung makes its Keys app, Kies. Look for that for the Mac. You can also do it with, the Mac is a little weird. On a Windows machine, you can just plug in an Android device. When the device is plugged in, it'll say, do you want me to be a camera or a hard drive? And you choose hard drive mode, not camera mode. I think it's MTP, Mass Transit Protocol or something. And once you choose that, it'll pop up as a folder on Windows. In the Mac, it's not quite so easy. You have to get an Android file manager, which is essentially just a driver, but it's also the flakiest piece of software ever. So get the Android file manager on your Mac, plug in the Samsung, and see if you can see. You're going to have to search around, but it's just like a regular drive. You're just going to look. There's an Android folder, and inside that there's a data folder. Inside that there might be a photos folder or an f-stop folder. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's all over the place. It's weird the way Android does it, but you should be able to find it. Once you found it, then copy it to the hard drive. That's actually a good thing to do. Now you have a backup. You have all the originals, and then you can copy it anywhere you want.
And are you familiar with Simple Gallery Pro?
I am not.
It's open source, so I like it for that. It seems to have some good tools because I'm thinking about just going there because there are some restrictions with F-Stop Pro.
Yeah.
They've been good, but it's like I have folders. I have my Instagram folder. I have my camera folder. You know, those kind of things.
I just, I'll be honest, on both of those phones, and I have them both and I love them both, I just use their built-in gallery apps. I haven't
really.
Yeah.
Okay. Right,
most of the reason is because ultimately that's just a temporary resting place for the photos until I get them somewhere better and safer, like say Google Photos
or SmugMug.
My favorite.
Mine favorite.
I only put a SmugMug. I'm so intimidated by all the professional photographers. This is a photo sharing site. It's a paid site. It's wonderful, smugmug.com. I only put my absolute best photos there because I am so, intimidated by all the great photographers on SmugMug.
No, I don't want any of my photos held side by side by Chris Michaels.
Exactly. Chris. Yeah, his stuff is so good.
No.
Yeah, it's embarrassing. He's so good. And there's so many people like that. And I'm just, Yeah. So Flickr, so I have 3 stages. I have my personal album, that's where all the snapshots go. I have Flickr, where kind of medium to good stuff goes, and then SmugMug was like the 10 best pictures of the year. That's it. But I will take a look at Simple Gallery Pro. That's an Android app. Honestly, since it's going to Google Photos or SmugMug or Flickr, I don't really care about how it's stored on the phone. I don't want to keep it on the phone for long. That's not the best.
I just like the last maybe 4 months to 6 months of photographs I've taken, so I can see
show
what
people.
I'm working on.
Yeah, and you can show people.
Well, mostly for me to go, you did that. That was good.
Yeah.
Go do some more of that. And then I'll dump it. I dump them automatically, obviously, to Google Photos. Everything just dumps there.
But you've learned a lesson, and a lesson that I think is important to learn, which is don't use a program that puts it in a gallery that is not accessible to everything else.
Right.
So I wouldn't use Simple Gallery if it doesn't make it accessible to the Samsung Gallery and to Google Photos. The most important thing is that Google Photos can see it and back it up, because that's, I think, vital. I think that's like, that's table stakes for any photo app.
Yes. Excellent.
Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Keep taking pictures, old chef guy.
You betcha.
Do you still cook? Do you cook at all? Do you cook anymore, or you've given that up?
When people hold enough tequila in front of me.
They force you.
No, I love to go to people's houses and cook and make a mess and then,
Then run. Cook and run.
Well, yeah, cook and run. But I don't cook much for myself. But no, I can still hold my own.
Good. It's great to talk to you. Happy Easter.
I still have all my fingers.
That's unusual. I don't know how good a chef you could be.
Well, I have some really nice scars.
Oh, okay, that's good. You got to have the burns, the scars.
They might have been reattached, but they're attached. So there's that.
Take care. Have a happy Easter.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. I hope you're having a good Easter. I hope you're having a good quarantine. And I thank you for sharing your downtime with me. I'll be back next week. We will talk tech, answer your calls. The website during the interim is techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. And I will see you in the chat room at irc.twit.tv, our podcast network, twit.tv. Have a great Geek Week. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, Twit, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.